Hey everybody, welcome to Commentary Bro. I wanted to make a response video to Exoticals United because she made a response video to my video critiquing the Exoticals. This is going to be a reaction video where I just critique a lot of the points that she made. I want to thank everybody who engaged with my first video. Thank you to Exoticals United for responding to my content. I take a lot of issue with the content you're creating, so I just decided to come on here and address it because I'm the type of person where if I have an issue, I'm going to speak on it. So let's get into it.
Hey, Pretty Girl Club. So today I am going to be addressing some critiques of my YouTube channel. So I actually love when people critique my channel because not only has it helped my community to grow, but it actually strengthens my talking points. And also, a part of the reason why I came on YouTube was so I could actually have a conversation with other content creators, unambiguous Black content creators who disagree with me, because I just feel like for so long, only one side of kind of the colorism conversation and kind of the Black women's conversation has been heard. So I welcome critiques, especially if a person, like, let's say they make a video or somebody sends me screenshots or something like that. But one thing that someone said is that I have not received any formal criticism against my channel, or that I haven't received criticism from non-Black women on my channel.
Okay, this is a minor thing, but I wanted to clarify this. So in my original video, I say that Exoticals United has not received a lot of formal criticism from non-Black women empowerment creators. So when I say this, what I mean is, number one, as far as formal criticism, I'm saying like somebody speaking coherently about their issues with Exoticals United in a way that she can actually legitimately respond to. She made a video clowning the Black woman who she claimed was in a refrigerator-sized or refrigerator-shaped t-shirt, and it was very easy for her to kind of try to own that woman because the woman didn't really have a script. She didn't really necessarily seem, I'm not saying the woman wasn't articulate, but I guess with Exoticals United, she comes a certain way with how she delivers her argument. So I feel if you're going to respond to Exoticals United, you have to come a certain type of way with how you speak, with how you articulate your arguments. And so I was saying she hasn't received a lot of formal criticism because I hadn't seen somebody like actually scripting a video, actually breaking down her talking points specifically. So that's what I meant by she hasn't received a lot of formal criticism. And I think listening is very important because of course it was an AI voice, but I said in it very clearly, Exoticals United has not received a lot of formal criticism from non-Black women empowerment creators. If you listen to Exoticals United's video, which we're going to watch, Exoticals United comes at a lot of my talking points by assuming that I'm a Black woman empowerment creator. She tries to make it out that I have the same ideas and beliefs that Chrissy, Queen Choma, and other women in that space have. And one of the reasons why I stated in my script that I'm a non-Black woman empowerment creator is because a lot of the pushback that she brings to my talking points is, oh, well, the Black women empowerment creators are doing it. Which, first of all, I feel like that's not a legitimate response. Like, if I'm critiquing Exoticals United for what she's doing and saying what she's doing is wrong, like, I never co-signed the Black women empowerment creators. But you'll see as we progress in this video, that's a way that she evades accountability, where she says, oh, the Black women empowerment creators are doing this bad thing too. Well, it's like, well, let's stop worrying about the Black women empowerment creators because you're an MLS pretty woman, right? So let's focus on you, the pretty MLS woman. Let's focus on you and what you've got going on. So we'll get into that as the video progresses.
Or I haven't received a lot of criticism at all. Well, first of all, that's false. I actually have received death threats.
I don't want to nitpick everything she says because then we'll be here all day, but I do think it's funny that she doesn't react to my video. She takes points from my video so she can kind of react to what she wants to react to, because she's not reacting. Like, she ignores when I say formal criticism and she turns it into, oh, he's saying that she's never received any criticism at all, which I never said. And of course, she jumps to, oh, I've gotten death threats for this channel. And I will say, I do not condone death threats, but I do think she's trying to victimize herself. Like, oh my gosh, it's so hard what I've been through, ignoring the harm that her content does towards unambiguous Black women and Black people in general.
For having this channel. I've received multiple people attempting to smear my channel name or attempting to misrepresent the premise of my channel. Another question I have is I find it interesting as to why someone would care how much criticism I receive.
Okay, I'm back again. I personally don't care. Like, it does not keep me up at night how much criticism that Exoticals United receives. For me, when I was saying I saw that she had not received a lot of formal criticism, for me, that was me saying I have critical thinking skills. I am educated. I'm articulate. I'm not seeing someone critiquing her talking points in the way that I would like to. So I am going to be that voice. I'm going to be the person to do that. So for me, I don't care like the amount of criticism she gets. Hopefully it's a lot because I think she's doing harm to the black community with her content. But as far as me saying like I don't care about the amount of criticism, what I was saying was I'm not seeing enough quality criticism of her talking points. So she's getting away with saying problematic stuff. And I think some of this, like, because there are a lot of unambiguous black women who follow her, but I don't think they realize, like, if you really listen to what this woman says, she is an agent of chaos. And I hope to prove that to y'all by the end of this video. But yeah, I don't care how much criticism Exoticals United gets. I need the criticism to be better than what the girl in that shirt did. I'm not saying that she did a bad job. I'm just saying there's a certain level of quality when it comes to the criticism of certain creators. Like Exoticals United has a certain quality to her content, so to critique that content, you have to respond with a certain level of quality. So that's all I was saying.
So I've noticed this rhetoric sometimes with some unambiguous black women who have critiqued me. They will say things like, well, she doesn't get as much criticism as unambiguous black women. And I've actually seen that even when it comes to like reality TV stars and stuff, they'll be like, oh, so and so light skinned person, she doesn't get as much criticism as this other person. And my first question is, why do you care about how much criticism I receive or don't receive?
This is not a specific point that she is making against me, but I do find it interesting how she seems very ambivalent to the idea that dark skinned women may do the same thing that light skinned women do and get a worse outcome or be treated worse. Like, there seems to be a lack of empathy because it's like, why do you care that this black woman's being treated worse or that she doesn't get? People care because that's a negative outcome, and people don't want people to get negative outcomes because of their skin tone. It's not complicated. This Why do you care how much criticism this person gets versus this because if it's linked to skin tone and we can call it out and bring awareness to it and change it, that's why we care.
I find that to be interesting because when I think about other content creators, I'm not thinking to myself, well, how many people criticize her? Oh, well, a lot of people like her. So now I'm mad. Now I'm going to criticize her because I'm seeing that she's not really getting a lot of criticism.
See how she's turning something into something else? I'm saying I'm not seeing a lot of formal criticism of you or quality criticism of you that I think is good enough to actually like stand against your talking points. And now it's just, oh, people are critiquing me because they see that people like me. And that's another thing. It is also valid if I am critiquing you because people like you. Because sometimes people like somebody because they don't fully see like the 360 view of what that person's doing and why it's harmful. So even if I dislike that you're growing, I can dislike that you're growing because I think that your content's problematic.
So that's interesting. And also, people are saying I haven't got much formal criticism. What is formal criticism? What's the difference between formal criticism and informal criticism?
Good question. I would say that formal versus informal, I would say is pretty subjective, but I would just say for me, formal criticism is like not ad hominem attacks, like direct criticisms of what you're saying in an articulate manner. And like I said, I did not see a lot of that. And especially from non-black women empowerment creators, because I think there are also issues in the black women empowerment space. So I think quality criticism that's coming from a more neutral space is important.
Because the last time I checked, this is literally just a social media app.
And I'm not trying to nitpick, but I do feel like this is moving the goalposts of, oh, it's just a social media app. But then later on, we're going to hear her saying that the Exoticals United is going to become a mainstream movement. So it's like her platform and social media, like, depending on, like, how convenient it is, sometimes it's just an app, it's just social media. But then others, like, we're having this important movement. Like, there's this constant moving goalpost of, like, how important social media is. And I also want to say, like, just because it's social media, like ContraPoint's video essay and a cat video are not the same thing, but they're both on social media. So clearly, like, they're it's a variety of different qualities of content on social media. So this like it's just social media. And the funny thing is she kind of questions like what is formal criticism, what is informal criticism. But the quote unquote refrigerator video, it took her, I'm pretty sure, less than 10 minutes to respond to that video, but she took over an hour and a half to respond to this one. So clearly there's a difference between the quality of the arguments in both of those videos, you know?
So, do you see what I mean about how some people they literally put you on such a high pedestal to the point where they're tracking how much criticism you receive?
Okay, I am gonna be petty. I don't care if we're here all day. Like, do you see what she's doing? She's turning it into me saying I have not seen you getting quality criticism that's actually like legitimately confronting your talking points. Now it's turning into like now I'm the stalker who is tracking like how much criticism is she getting. Like she's trying to make it like I'm unhinged when it's like you're tracking Kelly Rowland's skin tone. She's the same one who says that people are obsessed with like if Beyonce's bleaching or not. But she literally in this video later on is gonna say, I have definitive proof that Kelly Rowland is not as dark as she used to be. So it's just funny how like you can track Kelly Rowland's skin tone. That's not putting money in your pocket. Maybe your commentary on it, which we'll get to her commentary on unambiguous black women, but like it's funny how you get to track Kelly Rowland's skin tone, you get to track Normani's career, you get to track all this with unambiguous black women and even unambiguous black women content creators like Ostefco. You can watch them, but then if I'm calling you out, now I'm suddenly like stalking you.
They're comparing your criticism to other content creators' criticisms. They're saying, oh, well, did she receive formal criticism, informal criticism? Oh, well, she doesn't seem to be getting criticized, so now let me come in here and do this. So, isn't that interesting? Another critique that I received is I have so many inconsistencies. So, whether this is inconsistencies with my content, with who I am as a person, I'm not sure. But even so, first of all, I never said that I don't have inconsistencies.
Okay, I'm back. So this is another thing she's doing in this video. It's kind of like I'll make a criticism of her and then she'll step back and kind of like say like where did I claim that I was like consistent? Like I'm saying that she's inconsistent and she's stepping back and saying like who said I was consistent? And it's like you're somebody who wants to be this thought leader with this exotical movement that you think is going to become mainstream. You're someone who wants people to follow you. You want to be seen as a serious quality content creator who is making a niche for herself in the black commentary space. You want people to attach value to your name. You want people to like basically accredit you and say that your content is worth something. But now you're like because I'm calling you out for being inconsistent. Now it's this like who said I was consistent? Like your brand having the ability to sustain itself and grow relies on you as a commentator having some form of consistency. Because if you go with the wind and don't have consistent viewpoints, then what's the point of people watching you? So I just find that funny that she's trying to like turn this into a like, who said I was consistent? Like that's to be assumed. Like if you're a creator we're supposed to follow, you're supposed to have some type of code, some type of like there's something supposed to be tying your actions together where you're going to be consistent in some way where we can expect something from you.
And secondly, even if I do have inconsistencies, whether it's in my talking points or whatever, that does not invalidate the actual talking points of the channel because when it comes to like the term exotical or kind of like who I choose to do videos on and stuff, this is directly based on unambiguous black women who throw us in and out of unambiguous blackness. And I feel like there are actually inconsistencies in the black community. And so that's actually what this channel.
So even though you're calling me out for being inconsistent, like actually there's inconsistencies in the black community. So like the inconsistencies in my content are like intentional. Like it's supposed to be that way. And I will agree, there probably are inconsistencies with black women empowerment and creator content, but that's not a defense of you and your content. Like how many times is she going to point the finger whenever she's being critiqued about something that black women creators also do? If y'all want to play a drinking game, drink every time Exoticals United. She takes the blame and diverts it onto black women empowerment creators.
Highlights. So even if it does seem like I'm not keeping the same energy for certain topics or I'm not acting the same way depending on the scenario, my response is so what?
I'll get into this later because this was one of my talking points in my video, but this whole so what attitude. Like, no, you don't keep the same energy. Because, like I said, when Normani's taking an L, you're making content about it. That Normani video was one of her best performing videos. Like, it outperformed a lot of her other content from that week. So, my thing about it is, like, you're so quick to highlight when an unambiguous black woman isn't doing well, but then when the MLS women, I thought your channel was about uplifting MLS women, so help them to win, help them to succeed since you're about leveling up, since you're such an expert on leveling up. Show Tyla how she can, she can change her moves so that she can be winning again. Because, like, Tyla, she's supposed to be this, big performer, but she's with Kai Cenat and she's not really performing her music like she used to. And I'm not trying to, like, derail this, but it's just funny how, like, you don't keep the same energy. You aren't putting the same energy that you put on Kelly Rowland on MLS Women. So it feels like you are obsessed. Like, it's funny how she implies that people are obsessed with her because they're seeing that she's not getting quality criticism, but she herself, like, you don't keep the same energy. And like I said, I'll address that later, but, like, you do not keep the same energy, and that is a problem because consistency is key. Like, if you're not being consistent and raking the MLS women through the coals, like you're raking Normani and Kelly Rowland through the coals, like, I'm gonna call that out because you are being biased and hypocritical.
Who cares? Like, that still doesn't invalidate my experiences. That still doesn't invalidate the experiences of 20,000 women who.
Hey, I feel like I'm on fire today, but this is another minor nitpick. But it's funny to me how whenever people push back against her content, she says, well, 20,000 women agree with me. Or 20,000 people, like, they clearly think what I'm saying is right. But it's just funny because it's like Kevin Samuels, and I'm not like a Kevin Samuels fan or advocate. Like hold up, like, don't make assumptions about me. But my thing is, like, Kevin Samuels, when he passed, had over 1 million followers. But, like, she's very critical of, like, red pill men. But it's just funny. It's like, couldn't Kevin Samuels say, well, I had over 1 million subscribers and tons of people agree with me? Like, so it's just funny how she uses 20,000 people. And I think she uses that because a lot of people who are critiquing her may not have as big of a following. But it's just funny. It's like, people who are larger creators than you, like, who you're ideologically opposed to, could use that same thing. And I also think this is something I wanted to talk about too. And this is something, like, because this is a reaction video, but it's also just a general critique of the Exoticals. One of the things that Exoticals United never, and we'll get to this with the story time stuff that she brings up, but, like, it's funny to me how she takes it that every person in her audience is like this healed MLS woman who cannot be someone who's harboring resentment towards unambiguous dark skinned black women. Like she takes every story that they say at face value. She takes every experience they have at face value. Like, oh, it couldn't be that, she may have said that the light skinned woman in the story, it couldn't be that she had, like, may have provoked or, like, poked the bear when it came to the dark skinned black woman. Like, every story is just, oh my gosh, like, they were just the innocent victim. Like, one of the things I find so interesting with her, like, bringing up this, oh, well, 20,000 people agree with me. It assumes that all of those people, like, 20,000 people could be projecting. I'm not saying they're all projecting, but I'm like, you can build a following of damaged people, of people who have insecurities, of people who have issues that they haven't resolved. So it's just funny how, like, she takes her MLS followers, like, she takes their words so seriously. And I'm not saying that they can't be trusted, but it's just like there's no scrutiny applied to it of, like, hey, are you sure you didn't play into the story? It's just like, no, like, dark skinned black woman cut her hair, dark skinned woman pushed her down. And the same criticism could apply to black women empowerment creators with their story times. But it's just funny to me how, like, I never see Exoticals United saying, like, now MLS women who are teaching me stories, like let's have a conversation about, like, your story and, like, how maybe you could have played into it. Like, and I'm like, and I guess it's like, I'm saying is, like, it's funny how, like, this whole 20,000 number is always used as this, like, proof of whatever she's doing is right. And it's like, you saw them people drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, you can get numbers against you, and that, like, you can get numbers for you, and that doesn't necessarily mean that what you're saying is true and correct. It just means you have numbers.
1,000 women who have come together on this channel. We can't all be lying. So even if some of us have inconsistent stories, or if some of us have, like, different viewpoints and stuff, that still doesn't invalidate us. I believe that two things can be true at the same time. So inconsistency doesn't always mean that, like, the entire thing has been debunked. All it means is that that community is not a monolith. All it means is that that person is multifaceted. I'm
not going to stay on this too long because I don't want to become redundant. But what I have to say here is, I'm not saying there's inconsistencies in the exotical movement. I'm saying there's inconsistencies from her video to video. So I feel like she's trying to turn it into a conversation about, like, of course in our community there may be inconsistencies, but it's like, no, I'm talking about you and your content as a creator. One of her inconsistencies that we'll get into later is the amount of content she makes about unambiguous black women while claiming that the channel is a space for MLS women, uplifting MLS women. That's an inconsistency because you're putting so much time and energy into this group of people that you claim you can't relate to. So if you can't relate to them, stop speaking on them. You wanted your separate space, stay in your safe space. You wanted it to be safe, but you keep throwing stones. But we'll get into that later.
So, for some people who are one dimensional thinkers, they think that a human being is required to be the exact same way all the time.
And you see how she does it. She's doing it again. I will make a logical argument, and then she will, like, she bastardized the argument. She bastardizes, I guess that's what the word I'm going to use today, where basically I say, hey, like, let's be consistent video from video. Let's not contradict ourselves. Like, let's have some form of consistency. And then that turns into, well, like, oh no, you have to be the same all the time, and like you can never grow, you can never evolve. And it's like, it's not what I said.
And so one of the critiques I received is that somehow I'm not acting the exact same way all the time, or I'm not saying the exact same things all the time. And it's like, welcome to being a human. Like, I'm sorry, who have you been for your entire life? Like, have you just been trying to robotically act the same way? A part of expressing yourself is being able to express a range of emotions, being able to express a range of talking points. In some cases, maybe changing your beliefs if you find that something doesn't serve you anymore. So I don't see anything wrong with that. Another critique that someone said was they don't like the fact that I created this YouTube channel for exoticals, but then I talk about non-exotical content.
I personally don't have an issue with her making non-exotical content, but my issue is, like, don't say, hey, this channel is a safe space for MLS women where we're like gonna uplift MLS women, and then like 40% of your videos is you speaking negatively about unambiguous black women, because it's story times, and then it'll also be through commentary where she will highlight unambiguous black women taking L's, like suffering hardships, etc., things like that. So my thing about it is, if you're trying to uplift MLS women, because here's my thing about it, like, I'm not trying to police what she speaks about on her channel, but it's like, if there's a huge story happening with an MLS woman, or an MLS woman like drops a project, why not focus on them? But it's like, you can't keep your hand out of unambiguous black women's business. You need, and that's the funny thing, because she says, oh, they need us as a representation. You need them, unambiguous black women, as a source of your content, so that you can keep that AdSense check where you want it to be, where you can keep those views where you're going to be. One funny thing that I remember about Exoticals United is she was so excited when the Chrissy drama happened with the live stream, where Chrissy made 2 live streams about her, because and the thing I noticed was her sub count was not going up a lot, because of course a lot of the black woman empowerment viewers are not going to subscribe to her channel, at least a lot. Not, well, I would say like some of them, like, they're not going to subscribe in droves, because of course Chrissy's like vilifying her essentially. And I'm not trying to get into that beef, but I'm just saying, like, but the reason she was happy was because she was getting more views than ever. So like, I find it funny that even though this channel is quote unquote like for MLS by MLS, that like she's using controversy from a black woman empowerment creator to get views, to get bank, and she's using unambiguous black women, different aspects of their career, their public life, to make this money. And it's like, if MLS women, if we're making MLS women to be our representation, like, if they're that popping, then why not just focus on the MLS women? Or it's like, is it y'all are really not popping like that?
So they don't like the fact that I'm talking about exoticals, but I'm also kind of, I wouldn't say prominent in other spaces, but according to critics, it seems like they're implying that my voice is also prominent in the pretty privileged space.
And Exoticals United, she is going to use this as an opportunity to basically flex that she has content that's ranking in the algorithm in different areas, which, good for her. But like, I don't care that you have pretty privileged content that's performing well, and I don't care that you have decentering men content that's performing well. Like, good for you. But my critique, like, I don't care. What I care about is, you claim I can't relate to unambiguous black women, but like, I can make stories that make them look bad. I can't relate to that phenotype. It's just, it's like it's so out of touch. Like I can't even fathom what it would be like to be a woman with dark skin and 4C hair. Like I can't even imagine that. But like, I'm gonna make videos about those women who I can't even fathom what it would be like to be them. But I'm gonna make videos about them, and I'm gonna make money from those videos, even though like I thought this channel was about exoticals.
Well, which it is actually. My channel is actually prominent in the decentering men space based on my analytics. I'm in the decentering men space. I'm in the pretty privileged space. I'm in the social commentary space. I'm a little bit in the celebrity tea space, kind of popping up alongside some of the same videos where they're kind of giving commentary on musicians and stuff. And so one of the critiques I received is that, why are you saying you're making a space for just exoticals and then you're talking about non-exotical stuff? I don't like that because basically it's making black women look bad because the people who are coming on my channel to watch decentering men content and stuff, they're going to see videos pop up on their algorithm about, maybe a story time series. That's something else somebody got offended by. They didn't like the fact that exoticals were telling their story times because they're like, oh, that's making black women look bad. And it's like any person on YouTube who is dumb enough to make a stereotype about billions of black women based off of a YouTube video.
So here, Exoticals United is making the argument of like, oh, well, it doesn't matter if I'm making story times that make black women look bad because nobody should make assumptions about an entire group of people because of what they see on the internet. And here's my thing, like, since you're so into sociology and psychology, like, representation matters. Like, media representation matters, which is why people don't want every black woman who's in the media to be acting a way that they feel is going to make them look bad. So I find it funny how, like, she doesn't see how a storytime series where the majority, if not all the videos, make unambiguous black women the antagonist. Like, it's like what she's trying to say. Like, it doesn't matter that my content is making unambiguous black women look bad. That doesn't matter because people shouldn't make the assumption that every black woman is going to be like the women in these stories. But here's my thing, EU. That's not your get out of jail free card. Because even though people should be critical thinkers and understand that the story time doesn't represent every single black woman, that doesn't change the fact that you have spent a lot of time and energy collecting, basically archiving, creating like this oral history of these one sided stories. Like, and that's my bigger issue, and that's kind of like the full circle thing I want to get to is like, she claims, oh, this has been a one-sided colorism conversation. I don't like that. So my assumption was, if you want to have a conversation, you want people to get to some point of unity, some point of understanding, like some like for us to come together. And my thing is with these one-sided story times, they're not bringing people together. In my opinion, with this storytime series, the exoticals get to bond over this alleged shared trauma of these mean, quote unquote, dark skinned bullies. And dark skinned women, like, they get to feel ostracized of like, oh no, like, my phenotype is the antagonist in all of these stories. So this is just causing more division. We'll get to that later. And I can hear Exoticals United saying, well, when I was watching Chrissy's channel and she was making all those stories about light skinned women, I felt ostracized and like my phenotype was the villain in the story. So my question is, okay, well, Exoticals United, then like, well, what, since you're so big brained in sociology and psychology and HBCU grad, like, well, what is you doing the exact same thing that they did that triggered you? Like, how is that effective? Because like I said, it's you're just doing the same thing from a light skin perspective. So like you're not helping. You're just doing a slightly different brand of the toxicity.
Is already too far gone. Okay, so I'm not going to create content or like censor myself.
And you see this? Do you see what I'm seeing? Do you hear what I'm hearing? She's saying that she's being censored, like not uploading videos where unambiguous black women are the villain equals being censored. It's like, do you not see how the media treats black women in general? So it's just like I think there's enough heat on unambiguous black women without you. Like I don't think society, like, let's talk about it. Like, a black woman, literally was shot by the police. May she rest in peace. Like, she was shot by the police. She had no weapons. Like, so it's just like, I'm not saying that her YouTube videos are like directly correlated or contributing to this, but it's just like black women not have it hard enough where like you can just maybe leave them alone and not do these stories. Like maybe you could, I don't know, like anything would be more productive than this.
in order to pander to racists or in order to pander to people who like stereotype and stuff like that. So it's like if somebody is dumb enough to watch one YouTube video or to watch this channel, I'm not the queen of the world. So if somebody's dumb enough to just watch this channel and say, oh my God, I just think that everything Exoticals United says is 100% true, I'm just blindly following her.
And I get what she's saying if she wants her viewers to be critical thinkers who take everything she says with a grain of salt. But here's my issue, because I feel like she contradicts herself. Like I said, she moves the goalposts. So one second, it's like, listen to my content, like my content, buy my course, make your own exotical channel that's like an extension of my channel that also helps me to grow my brand. So it's like do all those things, like for the majority of like my content, agree with it and engage with it so I can grow and get my exotical tax. But don't like make assumptions based off the constant themes in my video. Like don't internalize the idea that unambiguous black women are malicious towards MLS women. Like don't internalize that, but follow me, buy my course, buy my Patreon, and make an exotical channel that's influenced very much by my channel. Like do all of those things, but don't attach yourself to the idea or internalize the idea that unambiguous black women are malicious, even though that's literally the message I'm sending out. Like, do you not see the contradiction of I want these people to do all of these things, but like I don't want them to internalize this message that I'm sending out through my content?
Like I'm some sort of person in a cult. That person is already an idiot. So it's like, why are you concerned about what idiots think?
Again, this does not have to do with me like losing sleep at night because oh my gosh, Exoticals United story times frame black women in a bad light. It's not about idiots like that. She keeps wanting to say, oh well, people shouldn't they shouldn't be thinking that black men are all a certain type of way because of my stories. But like I said, the issue isn't like that dumb people are going to make assumptions. The issue is you're constantly making content that's negative about unambiguous black women, and you should stop doing that because that's not the whole picture. And if you're a critical thinker, which I think you are, you should understand that this content really isn't helping because it's just further alienating and ostracizing people. Like maybe she could get together like the people who are in the stories and try to bring them together. I'm not saying she's Ayanna Van Zandt, but it's just like that would be more than just the same division.
Why are you so obsessed with what random dumb people think about you? So that's number one. And another thing that I've noticed is when it comes to my content, so first people were criticizing because they were like, oh, you should have included all types of black women on your YouTube channel. I don't like the fact that you basically excluded unambiguous black women or you didn't center your channel around them. That's mean because you're excluding them. You're including all the other women who have all the other different types of features, but you're not including unambiguous mono dark skinned black women with broad features and 4C hair in your images. You're not including them at the core audience of your YouTube channel. And it's like, okay, number one, stop begging me to be your representation.
So do you not like are you hearing the words I'm hearing? So she's saying, hey, black woman, stop begging me to be your representation. I'm gonna keep speaking on people with your phenotype and hoping that like who do you think is gonna watch the videos about the unambiguous black woman in the public eye? Like unambiguous black women are probably gonna watch the content about the unambiguous black woman. So it's just like it's funny, like you want them to click on your videos, but then you don't want to have any like of them. And I mean, I wouldn't beg for you to have like I don't need Exoticals United to like represent me or like I don't need to be seen in like her content, but it's just funny like I'm gonna make content about unambiguous black women, but then when those people who I'm clearly catering my content towards them so they'll click on it, like they can't make any rules but like they can engage so I can get the AdSense. Like that's not really logical.
I don't owe you representation. Also, why would I speak on behalf of a type of woman that I am not. Like when I first started following kind of the pro black content, like black women's content on YouTube, I thought that I could relate heavily to it until I actually started watching a lot of it. Like once I started watching a lot of videos from like Chrissy and all these other women, I was like, oh, wait, I thought that I could heavily relate to it, but it turns out I can't really relate as much, so that's fine. I'm not going to beg these other content creators to represent me.
I'll keep it quick, but like I said, this doesn't make sense to me. You're speaking on unambiguous women with the hope that they'll watch your video to get you more money and to expand your reach, but then it's like they can't expect anything, and it kind of is giving me like colors only. Like y'all remember like the segregation, colors only, whites only. This is what Exoticals United's channel is giving. It's like there's a like the restaurant is like exoticals only, like it's an MLS only restaurant, but like because that's what like the, and this makes me sad, but like some of the elders like in my community would tell me like how like at the, I think it was like a Dairy Queen or like a Dairy Queen like restaurant where like they'd have to get their ice cream in the back, like they couldn't go, like of course there was like the milkshakes and the tall seats and like they couldn't go in, they had to go to the back, and like sometimes the like employees would like throw the food at them or throw it through the door or something of the sort. So like my thing with it is like Exoticals United is like black women like and black people and like people who are not exoticals, like they can watch her videos, but like they're gonna be censored in the comments. Like it's very much like giving like colors only, like where we're in the back. Like we can give you AdSense, but like we can't make any requests. Like you're catering to us so that we come in and give you AdSense and engagement, but like we can make no demands. And if we do, we're begging for representation. So it's just like like this I don't fuck with this, like this exoticals only section of the restaurant where like it's like, well then focus on yourself, like but don't speak on us if we can't get anything out of your content but you want us there. Like get the colored only section out by stopping speaking on unambiguous women if you don't want these people to get comfortable in your channel.
They have different experiences.
And this is something also interesting I want to get into. And I feel like this video is like turning into a longer video, but there's a lot of interesting things that kind of come up in this conversation. Like one of the things that Exoticals United, like she says, my experience is so different. Like I said earlier, when she said like, I cannot fathom like what it would be like to be a dark skinned woman with 4C hair. Like, is it just me, or like in the society we live in, like, I do think colorism, texturism, and featureism do exist, but it's just like honestly, like if you are a person of color, I think all people of color are gonna have a lot more in common than like the average person of color. Like a Hispanic person and a black person, in my opinion, are gonna have a lot more in common than a white person. So I just am kind of over this, like the exoticals, like I can't even imagine. And the funny thing with this whole exotical concept is like dark skin exoticals, or like dark, like with how vague exoticals are, there are unambiguous people. Like so this whole we can't relate. It's just I feel like that's kind of being overblown. It's like okay, like it's not Earth and like Mars. Like like you may have different experiences, but like how different are they really? Because I don't really hear a lot of like light skinned black men like acting like, oh my gosh, I can't even relate to like black men at all, like at all. Like I don't hear that. Like they may have different experiences, but it's like they don't act like it's just this like Jekyll and Hyde completely different thing. To be fair, I think this is all very like circumstantial, like dependent on your experiences. I can only speak to my experiences with colorism, texturism, featureism, or like my lack thereof. Like that, and that's like a whole conversation in and of itself. But my thing with that whole conversation is I do think black women empowerment creators have contributed to some of this, like this idea of like, oh, our experiences are completely different. And I think it's a very nuanced topic, which is why I think stuff like this shouldn't be like, I think that Exoticals United doesn't always cover these issues with the sensitivity that they need. But I guess my thing is like, it's hard, like this whole like our experiences are different. I think a light skinned woman and a dark skinned woman can have some different experiences, but I also think that like the same white supremacy that's coming at the dark skinned woman, like, and I think that's an issue with like this hierarchical thinking. Like I think one of the issues of like having these conversations about colorism, texturism, and featureism in the black community is there is this narrative of like, oh well, if you're unambiguous, like you have the most oppression, or if you're like unambiguous with 4C hair, like, but if you're light skinned, like there's this level of like, oh, like this is like there's this hierarchy to the oppression. And I feel like that kind of creates this like this mindset of, oh well, you can't relate to me at all. And it's like, well really, like we all are under white supremacy, and there are ways we can relate. So it's like sometimes it's that whole thing of like, well, maybe let's focus on the ways we can relate versus like the not. So I think sometimes like with conversations like this, we have to get to a point where we're like, we kind of break up this hierarchy of like, oh, well, you have, but your hair is like this, or your skin's like this, so you benefit from this. Where it's like, wait a second, but how do we, like, let's break this totem pole, because like a lot of the stuff is like not cut and dry.
Than me. And so first the critiques of the exoticals were, oh, you guys think you're better because you're trying to like separate yourself by talking about your special experiences.
And this is another thing that I think needs to be brought to light. A lot of the exoticals conversations are this like very self-centered thing. And I'm not saying it's wrong to be self-centered, but like this idea of like, oh, we're just these like pretty innocent exotical people who are just like so talented and so great at everything, and we're just like killing it in life and everything's like great. But like there's these unambiguous dark skinned black women, and like we're not even doing anything. Like we're just so pretty and successful and like winning in life, and everything's going great for us, and we're just like doing everything perfectly. But like there's these unambiguous dark skinned black women who like can't stop hating on us and antagonizing us. These like black men who are like they can't stop coming at us. Like everything is like so hard because we're just so like perfect and great all the time. Like I feel like that's another issue of this conversation. Like we're just sharing our stories, and like why don't people, like, why are people having an issue with us? And like because like y'all are like you're it's like the exoticals movement is about like implying like these MLS women, like, oh my gosh, we're so sought after and we're like so perfect and everything's great with us, but like these people are just like, they hate us so much, and like they're just like, they have these infuriating, like, it's like if you actually listen to what she's saying, there's a lot of like nastiness to what she's saying. It's just she doesn't say it in that way, but when you really think about it, like this is really gross and like self-centered, and like it really is giving like the pretty girl club is giving like this elitist mindset. And it's funny because she's critical of a lot of the Divine Nine sororities, but it's like that's what this is giving. Like I feel like it's the only, like, the way you get into the exotical sorority is by creating an exoticals channel, like, which is showing allegiance to her, like paying for her course and paying for her Patreon. So that's just something I've noticed.
And now the critiques are, oh, I don't like the fact that non-black women are coming to the Exoticals United YouTube channel and they're learning about the experiences of exotical women.
Again, she tries to frame it as like, people don't like that people are that are non-black people are learning about the experiences of exotical women, and it's like, this is not like the objective, like from the word of God, like straight down, like struck down to like a stone tablet. I mean, I'm an atheist, so like don't expect me to like be perfect with the biblical references, but like what I'm saying here is like they just like non-black people, like y'all are mad that non-black people are hearing about exotical experiences. Well, yeah, we're mad because it's not this holistic accurate thing. It's just them projecting their hurt, their unhealed trauma, since you know their inferiority complexes that they have, their trauma they have with the black community that they haven't resolved. You know, like, I don't have a better help link, but maybe you can find one somewhere if you need it that much. And I'm not trying to invalidate like pretty girl trauma, but it's funny that like nobody else's trauma on the Exoticals United channel matters. It's just the Exoticals trauma.
Like that's kind of what this critique sounds like. It sounds like women are mad because I've got like Indian women watching this channel, white women watching this channel, you know, who are a part of my audience because they watch the other videos, and they are actually empathizing with like light-skinned black women or mixed race black women or darker skinned women who have keener features or maybe a looser hair texture. So that's one of the critiques that I'm receiving. It's basically, I'm mad because now all the other people outside of the black community can see my hypocrisy.
And the funny thing is, Exoticals United claims that she doesn't center whiteness. Like, she claims that, like, she critiques people for, like, pedestalizing, like, non-black or, like, non-black passing exoticals, or non-black passing mixed people, or rather white passing mixed people. And so my thing about it is, like, why is it that, like, it brings a smile to your face knowing that people are viewing unambiguous black people? And that's the thing that's funny, like, if you are already benefiting from colorism, texturism, and featureism, like, is that not enough for you? Like, now you have to with you already having all of this quote unquote like privilege from the isms, now you're also trying to create a platform where you can, like, you can use that soapbox to like point out bad things about unambiguous people who are already like seen by a lot of people as like violent or felons or like we're followed in stores. So it's just funny because it's just like is your privilege not enough? Now you have to like punch down. Like if you want to claim that you have so much more privilege than us, like why are you punching down? Like why can't you just enjoy your privilege and leave us alone?
I mean, that's really what that sounds like. It sounds like these people who are critiquing my channel, they're just upset because now there are actually women who are kind of responding to some of the colorism content and stuff like that. And they don't like the fact that my channel in particular is attracting a lot of non black women. So the fact that I have multiracial appeal and multicultural appeal, and the fact that I have audience members of other races, that seems to bother some of these women who are trying to critique me because they're saying you're making black women look bad in front of white people. You're making black women look bad in front of the non-black community. And it's like, okay, why do you have a white-centered identity?
So us having an issue with you making us look bad, because that's the thing. Exoticals United loves the fact that her channel is growing, and she's like fantasizing about reaching 100,000 and beyond, and all of those things. So it's just like, and she's planning on doing that by on the backs of unambiguous black public figures in these story times that malign unambiguous black people, especially unambiguous black women. So my thing about it is like you want to grow this platform and make money from this platform that could potentially like contribute to the negative perception of black women and black people. Like you want your platform to grow and have an impact and have like become a mainstream movement. So it's like you want this to become a mainstream movement. You want this to have an impact outside of social media into the material world, but you have an issue with us calling you out like while you're like taking the steps to make that happen. And this makes me laugh because here's my question. So you want this to become a mainstream movement. You want the exoticals to become a mainstream movement. So it's like, well, when are us unambiguous people supposed to speak out? Because you're hoping this becomes a mainstream movement. So like, we're not allowed to complain now while your channel is relatively small that you're making black people look bad to non-black people. So it's like, if we can't complain now, are we supposed to complain when this becomes the mainstream movement you want it to and it has material harm? So it's like we're not allowed to speak on it now because like, oh, well, now that you're a smaller channel. So it's just funny, like when is the appropriate time for us to speak out against what you're doing if you clearly have an intention of growing your channel, which means growing that message of unambiguous black people being bad.
Why are you obsessed with what random white people on YouTube think about you? If it's that serious, then why don't you just go and, represent yourself as opposed to begging me to represent you in a positive light?
And this is another thing, like Exoticals United assumes that like all of her critics like have never done anything to positively contribute to the perception of black Americans or unambiguous black Americans. Like we're all just lazy people who like have no life or identity, or like we've never lifted a finger to try to most people who are critical of you are already probably pro black in pro black spaces. Like just it's fun like this like I think that she mistakes people calling her out as like them begging her to represent her, and it's like no, like if and that's the thing I find funny is like if you like she claims, well, I'm a part of the black community, so it's like, well, if you're in the black community, then I as a black person can hold you accountable as someone who's also black or who has black ancestry. So it's just funny how like anytime she's like people who are like you want to be in the black community when you want to speak on us and like be in these conversations so like we can hold you accountable, and that doesn't mean that we're trying to beg you to be our representation, which is like if you're a part of the black community, like it's funny like you're like we're begging you to be a like if you are a member of the black community then you are our representation. Like it's like this stuff doesn't make sense because like you contradict yourself every other sentence.
Or begging me to represent you in a way that is not consistent with my experiences.
Do you hear this lady? Do you hear this lady, or is it just me? I'm sure Exoticals United that your experiences with unambiguous black women from start to finish were just horrific. Like you barely made it through. Like you're lucky to live to tell the tale of like they were just so jealous of you and just so hateful of you that you just like you could bear like you who went to a HBCU like you've like every experience you've had it's just funny how she's saying this of like I couldn't dare to like say stuff that's not true to my experience because like every experience you've had like has had to have been negative, like that bad. Like black women have done you that bad. Like it sounds like you like there's BetterHelp links if you need one, sis. Like just Google BetterHelp promo code. And I'm not trying to trivialize mental health or like trauma, but it's just like the fact that like this woman, like people are like, hey, maybe just like stop spreading bad stories about unambiguous black women, and she's equating that to being censored, like that's not consistent with her experience. It's like, damn, like I'm just like even like you've never had black women just be sweet and kind to you, and that's the funny thing, cause she like in certain stories she's talked about how like black women have like pedestalized her because of her hair and her like so it's just like how can they be pedestalizing you and also like beating you down and like being an assailant towards like pick a side, pick a story.
If I look on my experiences as a woman who does not have the same phenotype as like Whoopi Goldberg or something like that, a lot of black women only stand up for dark skinned, unambiguous black women on YouTube or as far as like the content that they create. And so, why is it that I'm expected to cape for women who don't cape for me?
Well, one, you're expected to because there's this thing called solidarity and there's this thing called being mature and not like this tit for tat thing that the black woman empowerment and exotical space keep doing of like it's like Exoticals United, she's talking about how people are obsessed with her, but like she's obsessed with like, oh my gosh, but like unambiguous black women are like they like a lot of unambiguous black women like they're not defending me, so like I can't defend like you're a critical thinker, yes you can, like because you understand that like people are complex and like hey I can be somebody who does the right thing even though like so and so like me choosing to do the right thing is not dependent on whether somebody else does the right thing because me doing the right thing is an individual choice that I'm doing because of my own morals.
Do you see the hypocrisy? Another critique that I got is that I make controversial content speculating on the mental health of unambiguous black women. So, for example, when I do the storytime series, or like when I talked about inferiority complexes, I'm assuming maybe like my Fanita videos, so some of like my celebrity commentary videos, and my response is Cynthia G, Queen Chama, I Am Aloho, Paris Milan, Chrissy, and pretty much any other black creator I can think of. They make speculative commentary on the mental health of light skinned black celebrities all the time.
One, I would say a big difference between the black woman empowerment creators and her is they don't try to say that they're basing their criticisms on psychology or sociology. It's more so just I'm a commentator giving my opinions as a commentator, whether you like it or not. So that's one thing I'll say is like I think it's different to say like how would I put it? Like if I'm watching let's say like Sky Santana, like I like some of her commentary. Like if I'm watching Sky Santana's commentary, I'm not like Sky is not necessarily like Sky may say like, hey, I think this person this, I think this person that, but it's not like to the extent of Exoticals United of like, oh, like they have an inferiority complex. Like for example, like a lot of times, like for example, Kelly Rowland, or like I'll talk about Taraji P Henson because like I that's what's coming to mind. With Taraji P Henson, like Sky was saying that she felt okay, like Taraji is carrying a little bit with some of this what she felt was complaining with the whole Color Purple tour. But my thing is like she's saying like okay she feels like she's not getting what she's worth, like maybe she needs to get a new career change, like maybe like that's what Sky was saying, but there's a difference between Sky saying like, "Hey, this is what I feel about Taraji," versus like this whole like Exoticals United. I feel like she goes a little bit deeper with the analysis, like for example like with the like saying Kelly Rowland is jealous of Beyonce and she has an inferiority complex. Like I think it's different to like make more like casual observations of like okay like this is what I know of Taraji, this is what I think of her, and like these are my feelings versus like she is jealous of Kelly Rowland, like Kelly Rowland is jealous of Beyonce. This is why she's bleaching her skin. This is why. And I'm not saying that like she can't have her opinion, but I do think there is a certain like level where she goes beyond to kind of like try to go into somebody's head that other people don't do. And like I said, they other people don't say that they're basing their opinions in psychology and sociology. And my thing is like, I think she can be an enthusiast about psychology and sociology, but my issue is like, don't use those concepts to try to make it out that your opinions aren't just your opinions. Like if you think Kelly Rowland's bleaching, like stand 10 toes on that, and like you don't have to say psychology is this, psychology that about that. And again, Exoticals United is saying, but the Black woman empowerment creators do it too. Like I said, I'm not a Black woman empowerment creator, so them doing something wrong and you doing something wrong doesn't make it right.
Or they make speculative commentary on the mental health states of mixed black women all the time. I see them talking about Erica Mena, Danny Lay, pretty much anybody you can think of. Lighter skinned black women, Ice Spice, whatever. Any sort of black woman that is unambiguous. I see lots of unambiguous women speculating and commenting and kind of, giving their opinions on us all the time. And so, why is it okay when they do it, but suddenly when we do the same thing and not even on the same level? Because I am nowhere near on the same level in terms of like my content. I'm still a small, growing content creator. So, why is it that you're overlooking what these women are doing?
I'm not overlooking them. I don't watch their content. I watched your content, and your content was the offending content. That's like if you get pulled over by the cops and you're speeding, and you say, "Well, the person in front of me was speeding." It's like I'm focused on you. You're the one that I pulled over. So like them speeding doesn't change the fact that you're speeding and that you're pulled over and we're talking right now. So it's just like let's stop pointing the finger. I know that you exoticals like that seems to be like a behavior that y'all like to do, but like it's not the most mature thing. It's not like we can get to accountability. We can be the bigger person. Let's learn.
And that's okay for them to do it. But suddenly, because you put me on such a high pedestal,
Don't flatter yourself. I wouldn't say that it's because I put you on such a high pedestal. It's more so just you're the channel that I happen to be watching at the time that I chose to react to. But that's the funny thing, because Exoticals United says she says that she loves getting criticism and that she loves when people critique her. But the funny thing is, like, it seems all roads lead, like, when you critique her, that all roads lead to we pedestalize her so much, we like love her so much, we're so obsessed with her. So I just find that funny.
you are literally pedestalizing my content and my channel so much so to the point where you think that I have more social power than all of those other YouTube channels combined.
Exoticals United Misunderstanding Accountability Challenge. I'm not saying that they have more social power. Like it's like I said, like I've been in situations with, and I'm not trying to overshare, but like if I'm talking with someone, like if we're, can potentially connecting or building something, if I'm and I don't like I'm not trying to get too deep into it, but like if I'm calling someone out on a certain behavior they have, and every time I call them out on that, it immediately turns into them trying to find an issue with me to bring up instead of listening to what I'm saying. Like Exoticals United, you're doing that. I'm not overlooking those black women empowerment creators by calling you out. You should be flattered by the fact that your channel is the one that caught my attention. But me critiquing you has nothing to do with those other people, because like the focus should be on you. So like let's stop the obsession with the black women, because it's just like you know every damn thing they're doing, don't you? Even though you're so focused on the MLS space, that's just funny.
So if you combine Queen Chama, I Am Aloho, Chrissy, if you combine all the black unambiguous women and all their subscribers, let's say you combine them all together, that's millions of subscribers. So you're telling me that this small channel called Exoticals United with only about 20,000 subscribers is so powerful and so almighty, and it's on such a high pedestal to the point where I'm overtaking and overshadowing all these other content creators, and that's problematic.
I'm not sure how he went from she is speculating on the mental health of black women to like now she's overtaking all of them. I think she went to that conclusion by saying, "Oh, well, because they do it and you're not paying attention to me, you're making it out that I'm more important than all of those channels." And like I said, that's not what happened.
And also, let's talk about this. Why would you be offended by something that's not true? Like if somebody were to say, oh, Exoticals United, you're such a horrible content creator, I would laugh at that because I know that that's untrue.
Well, maybe the reason why black people take issue with your content that frames black people in a negative light is because, as I said, in the world outside of your one YouTube channel, there already are a lot of dominant narratives that are negative related to unambiguous black women and black people in general. So if those near like this idea of why would you care about something if it's false, like false narratives have like already had a history of negatively impacting black people and marginalized people in general. And if you look at social justice in a lot of different movements, a lot of social justice movements have been built in respectability and in like disproving negative dominant narratives about your group in order to work towards your group getting more widespread acceptance. So this idea of why would you care about something being negative if it's not true? Because those negative things can have real life implications. For example, with gay men, with the HIV/AIDS epidemic, there was this predominant narrative that gay men were just, overly sexual, that like, and because they were overly sexual, like somehow like that means they deserve to get AIDS and to suffer and to die and things of that sort. So it's like that negative narrative, even though it wasn't necessarily true, and it like vilified queer people specifically for being like sexually active, like for queer people to gain acceptance in queer marriage and things like that, like they had to conquer or like challenge those pre-existing negative narratives. And even with like if you look at the civil rights movement, like some of the decisions that were made of like some of the people that were held up, for example, like Rosa Parks versus Claudette Colvin, like this stuff all relates to respectability over pre-existing negative narratives. Hit the hour mark, so this has been a fun conversation. I have a lot of the video left that I may want to react to, but I just wanted to post this first hour just to give people just a little taste of some commentary clapping back at Exoticals United, since like I said, there hasn't been a lot of formal criticism against her. So she gave us a big old plate of content, so I decided to respond back just because I think this is an important conversation to have. I hope you enjoyed it. See y'all in the next one.